Welcome back to a new video, a new style. I don't know if I made one of these before, maybe, but I don't really get enough negative feedback on my lifts to really make these on a regular basis. But um, this gentleman on my 220 back squat from last week said that I should use safeties, otherwise I'm gonna die. But you know what a live leak is? It's a place. I don't think it's active anymore, but it's a place where you see like car crashes and accidents and stuff like that. But I said nah, because most of the time it's just someone in passing that throws a comment on a short like that, and I just kind of ignore it. Hence my short comment, because it's usually not worth like diving into. And then he said, I bet Homeboy wouldn't have said the same thing. And he sent a video of a guy talking about the guy who got killed doing a back squat because a spotter wanted to push the bar forward when he failed the weight. He was squatting a weight that was way above any of the lifts he had previously done. I had looked at that guy when that happened and see like what he was even able to squat, and it was significantly lower than what the weight he was even attempting. So that's first piece of advice to not get hurt with squatting is don't squat 20 kilos above what you've done prior, even with spotters, because that's stupid. Unless you're an extremely new lifter. If you're going from like 130 kilo to 150 kilo squat, that's completely different from what that guy was doing, going from 200 kilos to 220 kilos. Be much more similar to me trying to go up to like a 560-pound back squat when my best is 520, when I don't have any preparation for that. It's very hard to take massive jumps like that when you're at a any sort of advanced level. And even if you are squatting 130 kilos, like I would never recommend jumping to 150. That would be a really big jump, even at the those lower relative weights. But I replied that it's really simple not to die during a back squat. You just basically you know how to fail reps, and you know when you start to fail, and you kind of understand your body, and you just stop when things start to feel wrong or when they start to slow down. That's essentially like if it feels too slow, that means I failed. And it doesn't matter if I could theoretically like grind it through or like pitch forward and fight it through. It's like it's just not worth it at that point because I'm trying to get better at weightlifting. I'm not trying to do a 1 rep max squat and improve that. I want my squat to maintain a certain level of technique and speed so then it carries over the best and I don't have as much fatigue. That's another reason that you shouldn't be doing crazy difficult lifts is that it fatigues you to a high level. And when you train every day, you don't really want to have those lifts if you can manage it. Obviously, like me doing it, this 220 kilo squat is going to fatigue me of some sort. But if I was grinding to like an extreme level, that's going to fatigue me even more. And anyone that has experience with lifting and those kind of lifts, you kind of know what I'm talking about. The difference of just because it's a heavy lift doesn't mean it's going to fatigue you, but if it's a really heavy and grindy lift, that's going to kind of fatigue you in a doubly kind of way. But let's see. When you use weights that are in a reasonable range. So that's another thing that guy did. He did not use weights that were in a reasonable range. Suffering any sort of injury is really low if you are using reasonable weights that are relative to what you have been doing and what you can do. The likelihood of even a minor injury is super low. And then I mentioned how the guy in the spotter was really terrible in that video. He was pushing the bar forward onto the guy's neck instead of pulling it off. So that was honestly the biggest issue that that guy had was that he failed the weight and was sitting at the bottom. The guy just pushed the bar forward onto his cervical spine, which obviously did not turn out well for that gentleman. But see, it's simple to die by squatting. You're saying it's equivalent to the notion that driving is safe because simply not crashing the vast majority of the time is statistically what happens. If that were the case, you wouldn't need airbags or seatbelts. Point of safety equipment is for when things go wrong. Comparing squats to driving a car is, I don't think, a very good comparison because the environment from which you're driving is much more dependent on outside factors versus your own driving. Obviously, if you're drunk driving or if you're falling asleep or texting, like those are things that you can control. But a lot of car accidents are someone else doing those things and not paying attention, or it could be the weather, ice, or whatnot. So there's a lot of other factors that a deer, like I hit a deer last year in November. I hit a deer on the highway. Like that's not something that's like I'm a good or bad driver, and that's just something that can happen. And I suppose a deer could hit me while I'm squatting, but if that happens, then I have much more concerns than the bar. It's there's a deer that's now in my shed, apparently dumb enough to run into me, and probably not a good time. But the point of safety equipment is things go wrong, not when things go right. I agree with that. With the weight you're squatting, if something out of your control, low likelihood would happen, almost certainly get folded like a lawn chair. Well, I think most likely be a joint injury. Because I'm not on steroids and stuff, I'm not worried about major joint injuries or even like a major muscle injury when I'm lifting because my limit is going to be like it's going to follow normal biological patterns a lot better than if I were taking exogenous substances to go above what my body would naturally be able to do. And the fact that I don't want to get injured means that I actually have that self limitation. So, like doing this 220 kilo squat, even though it's 93 or 96% of what my best squat is, I don't do an additional squat just to see if I can. Like I do that and like that was a good hard squat. That's it. And then I move on from there. And then I try to, look at what I did the previous week and see if I can do more, or if I can't, then figure out why and whatever that situation may be. But um weight you're squatting, I mean like I agree, like you could get hurt. I'm squatting enough weight where it would hurt me, I guess. But like it would take a lot less to get hurt as well. Low likelihood get folded like a lawn chair. I mean, that's the assumption that I would let the bar go forward on me for no reason and let it drift forward. When I start to feel that happen, that's when I just stop. But when you can deadlift 670 pounds, like your back can kind of take over for a rep, and it's important not to do multiple reps like that. But like, I don't know, I'm not worried about my back getting hurt on a squat because it's just my back's really strong, and that's a good luxury to have, I suppose. I think most likely it'd be a joint injury mid rep. I just mentioned that. The likelihood of a joint injury mid rep on a very controlled environment of a back squat is extremely unlikely. Bothers me the most is your terrible attitude and disregard for your own life and age and training level. I mean, I don't know if you know my age. I'm 30, so I've been lifting for quite a while at this point. And training level, that should make it clear why you need safeties. You don't need safeties if you know how to do what you're doing. If you're confident in your technique, then you don't need it. Much in the same sense that I don't need a spotter when I'm doing a clean or a snatch, because if you know how to fail, then you're going to be fine. Your SWAT technique itself is way too bent over. That's a pretty comical statement, followed by the fact that you think that I do not have hip or ankle mobility, which shows that you've not looked at any of my snatch or clean and jerks, being that I have plenty of hip and ankle mobility to get in very good deep ranges of motion in a very upright posture, as you have to be in a snatch or a clean. And any sort of forward lean is literally just because of the physics of where the bar has to be in the center of my body as far as weight goes. I suppose like everyone can stand to get a little bit more mobile in the hips and the ankles and hamstrings and everything, but like I don't look at my squat and say I can't get into that range of motion. Like I'm bouncing off my calves because I have the ability, I have the ankle mobility to squat all the way down. And if I'm any more upright, that just changes the center balance of where the bar is in relation to the center of my foot. And it would extremely limit the way that I'm doing, or I would just like actually like fall backwards because it's just how balance of the weight works. Um, let's see. If you fail a rep, you get pinned like the guy in the video. Thankfully, if I do have someone spotting me, they won't push the bar onto my neck and kill me because they actually like me. But if you know how to fail a weight, then you just let it, you sit back down with it and let it roll off. That's just what you do. You do weightlifting enough, then like just know how to fail weights. If you aren't pushing your limits, then how did you build your squat this high? It's through the development of technique and understanding of leverages, and also just being athletic enough to understand how to fail weights. If I wasn't confident that I knew how to get out from underneath a squat or anything, then I wouldn't be confident enough to even attempt it, even with spotters. And it wouldn't matter if I had the best spotters or the best whatever in the world. I would just fail the lift perpetually if I was worried about hurting myself or you know, pushing, not pushing my limits or what. Like if I was scared of the lifts and I just wouldn't progress. And if you're scared, then you're not going to get better. And you have to be confident and have just a general athletic background, I suppose, or just be coordinated enough to to not let the bar break your neck. Not very difficult. Standalone safeties, I have those for the standalone squat work I have. I have them somewhere in my house. I don't know where, but I don't plan on using them because they're a pain, and I don't really plan on ever failing squats. And you know how to fail squats, you just let it roll off your back. Too much money, you have a drill, saw, some measure tape, buy some cheap lumber. I don't know where you find cheap lumber nowadays, but I have. Uh, and this I know you haven't looked at videos like a couple of shorts ago. I had video of me doing block snatches, so clearly I have blocks that I can set up to do squats off of with that. So it's not as if I don't have that equipment, but telling me to do what jerk blocks are, I literally know what those are because I literally own them. Nobody around you's cared enough to smack you over the head and said, "WTF are you doing for this behavior?" As if my behavior is somehow going to just end my life. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. It's comical because not only do my friends watch my lifting videos and clips that I post of my lifts, my parents literally watch all of the stuff I post. Like the squat went on Instagram as well. I don't know. I think my mom and dad actually watch my YouTube sometimes. I know I have an aunt that does, but it's like they know my athletic background because they raised me, and also they know like what their athletic background is, and they know the genetics that they gave me. And they've been watching me do my lifts for years at this point, years and years at this point. And I don't know. It's one of those things that's like I trust the people that I'm around, and like I don't really care how many views a squat video gets. Like it just works that shorts happen to work well for short videos, so that's why I use them. And then your comment was hidden because it had links in it. So if you put links and stuff, anything on YouTube, it's just going to get auto blocked. It good for language or for links. YouTube will automatically block some of that stuff, but for whatever else, YouTube is weird like that. So I don't have any filters or anything on any of my comments, such anything that gets blocked like that. I mean, links are pretty obvious why they would, but like other stuff, if it does get like held for review, it could be like too many comments at once, or it could be like a cuss word or something like that. But no, nothing on my end. But I will say it's most likely because of links. Christian Turner jumped in. LOL sheesh. And then dude knows he's playing with fire dive bombing. I don't dive bomb my squats, otherwise I would fail all of my squats. It's a controlled eccentric, and the reason that I know it's controlled is because I time the bottom of it so that I can use the stretch reflex on the way up. And in order to fully utilize the stretch reflex in a squat, you have to be able to maintain tension in your back. And one of the features or one of the flaws when you are dive bombing a squat, you end up loosening your lower back or just your abdominals in general in order to descent faster into the lift to crash into the bottom. And I control that because I need to, because that's how you squat in additional weights. That's one way that you push the weight up, you improve your technique. But that's one thing I'm thinking about when I'm squatting is to maintain that control speed. I'm not trying to do a slow eccentric squat because that's just going to waste energy and you're not going to move as much weight. But you just want to be athletic. Like that's the thing is like you want to have an athletic movement, and that's the best way to describe like the speed that I try to go down. It's kind of like if you're trying to jump, like you're not dive bombing the bottom to like jump up. You are controlling that, but you're not, also not trying to move it slow. So it's one of those things that like if you think that I don't have the mobility or that I'm dive bombing, it's like I just don't think you understand squatting and whatnot very well. And I try to look at your channel. You have a couple of just looks like college videos, which is fine. Nothing that like of you lifting, so I don't really have the like context of maybe you're squatting 300 kilos and you're a expert of all these lifts, but you know based on what I've been reading, I don't think that you are, but maybe I'm wrong with that. But thankfully, if you're thinking about your joints and ripping a joint in half when you're doing a lift, like a squat, then you're not going to lift very much weight. And the way that I was able to push these weights up over the years is just through a decade of consistent squat training and trying to improve the technique. That's where I started to record videos, and where I'll continue is to look at the technique and then obviously to make YouTube videos on top of that as well. But um, yeah, nobody's smacked me over the head yet and asked what I'm doing. It's mostly shock of how deep I'm able to get in squats. I suppose that's mostly the WTFs that I get. But no, I trust the people that I'm around, and I have enough people that watch, my stuff on whether it's YouTube or Instagram that if I get feedback from them, that they give me good, feedback of what I need to improve if there is anything. But I don't know. It was interesting, but I can't say that I'm gonna be fighting in the comments much more. I figured I'd just make a longer video and just kind of go through them like that. But I don't plan on breaking my neck on squats, and as long as you know what you're doing in a squat and you understand kind of the uh, mechanics and the physics of it, you kind of just get better at it over time. But Yeah, I don't know. No hard feelings still. It's your sentiments are not something that are, completely out of nowhere, and it's something that people think, but at the end of the day, if you're scared to get stronger in a squat or you're scared to get hurt in a squat, then you're probably not going to be very good at them. And I suppose I'm really not scared of back squats because I'm more scared of cleans and snatches. Because I think those are more scary than a back squat ever could be. And so like I have zero fear of anything bad happening on a back squat because I'm more worried about weightlifting movements. Those are much more scary to me. But yeah, so that a little bit of a different video. But if you made this far, I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll talk to you on the next one. Have a great day. Peace.